Keith Taylor, Green MEP for the South East. The European Court of Justice has announced its ruling when it comes to this air pollution case. What's your reaction?
Well, it's a very little surprise because it was clear from day one that the British government was failing to meet the targets. And this is the next step towards further action from the EU and also from the Supreme Court in the UK.
What do you make of the fact that this case was taken by an environmental charity, the fact that they had to take this case in the first place?
I think it's a scandal because really the government has failed in its obligation, its duty to look after the welfare of people. Air pollution is second only as an environmental killer to smoking. And for Client Earth to have to bring the legal action, I think is a scandal.
In your region, in the southeast, the government says that it's not going to meet its requirements on EU standards for nitrogen dioxide till at least 2020 for the southeast region as a whole and also for Southampton. How concerning is that to you, considering these targets were meant to have been reached first in 2010?
Well, I think it's really concerning because the fact is, according to the government, 29,000 people a year are dying through the effects of air pollution. And that's not going to get any better without the government taking it seriously.
What does it mean for the government to take it seriously? What should they now do? What do they need to take on board having received this judgment from the European Court?
Well, I think the first thing the government should be doing is formalising the low emission zone idea on a national basis. At the moment, the government is leaving it up to local authorities to introduce LEZs, but I think there should be a national strategy. Aside from that, we need more investment in less damaging transport, and we need to actually think a way of de-incentivising the diesel engine, because that is where nitrogen oxide is coming from.
Is there a willingness, do you think, for the government to act? And who is going to pay for it, given that money is very short, particularly with local councils at the moment?
Well, the government is going to have to meet its obligations. The government wasn't forced into this. The government actually played a part in the 90s in setting these standards for the EU. Now, the governments from the Labour Party and the coalition government have failed miserably to actually address this problem seriously.
This is going to leave the government with a bit of a headache. They're told by the court that they should meet these targets in the shortest time as possible. I mean, that is rather vague, and according to the environmentalists, we'll get some clarification on what that means from the Supreme Court. But nonetheless, one would have thought that 2020 or 2025 is not as soon as possible. What's your interpretation? What would we now expect?
Well, it's not an easy nut to crack. There are lots and lots of measures which must be taken, like sustainable transport plans, like design planning, actually reducing the need to travel by private motor car, encouraging walking and cycling. And it's a package of measures, and those low emission zones are critically important. It's a package of measures, and I think what needs to happen is the government needs to be seen to be doing something, rather than for the last 10 years it's just been trying to kick the problem into the long grass. And so the government needs to act positively and with an intent.